why it is so important. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, Michael.
No, you said it real perfect. Let's
Yeah.
jump in. Let's get going. Yeah.
So what we're going to start with, just so you kind of have an idea of what the class is going to entail, the beginning, the first little bit is going to be kind of some mindset stuff, some reasons why you need a business plan, some things you need in addition to a business plan if you want to be successful, some kind of motivation, and then the end is going to be actual work. And I know you probably didn't come here to work, but we know we teach classes all the time. And what we learned is that we can tell you all these things in the class, but most agents go home and get busy and don't do them. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to work through a business plan today while you're here so that you leave with one done. And then you can go home and edit it and take it back at your leisure, make any changes that you need. So basically we're going to work through a packet and you'll end up with this, which is a one-page pyramid that has kind of all of your numbers that you need for the year. And our goal is that you hang this up behind, next to your desk or in your bathroom or wherever you're going to look at it every day to help keep you motivated. So that's what we're going to end with.
Some of you got to start on that in the last class. So we talked a little bit about 3 business activities that you're doing, what goal you wanted. That's all going to plug into the stuff that we have here.
Yep. But first, in addition, we always like to start by what do you guys want to know? Why are you here? What did you come for? Just so we can make sure we cover it all. That's it? You want a business plan? Okay. Now let's do a quick little.
How many of you have a business plan?
Yeah, that was what I was just going to ask. Okay.
Pseudo business plan. Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. So that's an old one. Yeah. How often do you look at it?
Mine is packed in storage right now.
Yes. Yeah, well what Michael and I have learned is really, as far as your numbers, a lot of them are annual, right? You set like an annual goal either for income or for number of units, and it's really hard to stay focused on an annual goal if you're only thinking of it as a year goal. So we like to try to break it up into smaller, more attainable goals so that you can really keep track of where you are at with your goal throughout the year. So we're going to talk about that too. But how many of you, just show of hands, have been in the business less than 2 years? Okay, awesome. And those of you that have been more than 2 years, have you ever had a formal business plan that tells you like how many activities you need to do on a weekly basis to hit your goals?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, awesome. And has it worked for you in the past? No? Why not?
Because they don't work.
What do you mean they don't work?
Business plans don't work.
Then why are you here?
I'm here just to learn how to do it right.
Oh, okay.
You're a business
My plan didn't work.
Well, business plans work if you're disciplined, right? If you're disciplined and you hold yourself accountable to it, they work. But it works if you work, Jay. That's gonna be my new slogan. They work if you work. So we're gonna give you some tips on how to work smarter, not harder this year. And I guess any other questions we want to know? How many of you have a P&L? Okay, awesome. One person. So that's pretty normal. What we find is that most agents get into this business kind of for the idea of I can make as much money as I want, I can have a flexible schedule, I can help people, I can kind of, it's, unlimited potential, right, in real estate. And those are the great things about it. But the tough things,
which are all true things.
They are. But the tough things are that there's no guaranteed paychecks, and business is harder to get than a lot of people think. And most people don't really think about their business like a business owner and really track every single dollar going in and dollar going out. And what we find is that a lot of agents at the end of the year or at tax time freak out because they're like, oh my goodness, I have this big tax bill, I didn't plan accordingly, or I made a lot less than I thought when I actually take out all my expenses. So the business plan that we're going to do today takes all of that into account so that you can make all the money that you want to make to live off of as far as your net, but then also pay your brokerage, pay your marketing expenses, pay your taxes, and everything else, and still have the money that you want. So, all right, well, let's get right to it. So we like to start with this quote. If you wait until things are perfect to take action, you are going to be waiting for the rest of your life. So one thing, in our coaching program, Michael and I hear a lot from agents, well, I need to get my new business cards, or, oh, I'm still waiting on my new signs, or, oh, I got to redo my marketing, or got to get a new website.
Or I need to take all the classes I need to take so I can know everything there is to do before I get started, and that's not the case. You literally just need to jump in.
And we think that, taking action, nothing's ever going to be perfect. Your business is always changing and evolving as this industry is. But if you are making productive activities in your business every day, you are going to see results. So we're going to talk about some of that. Here are some quotes. I'm going to let Michael tell us these. We really like them.
Yeah, we do really like them. I don't have the time is the biggest lie you tell yourself. Grant Cardone. How many of you are familiar with Grant Cardone? 10X. We actually came in as a speaker a couple of years ago here at my home group, and it was pretty amazing. So success is actually a short race, a sprint fueled by discipline just long enough for a habit to kick in and take over. Gary Keller Williams founder. I love this because this business truly is about the habits you create. So if you can create good habits with the business activities that you choose, you're going to get to where you want to go. Excellence is the gradual result of always striving to do better. Pat Riley. Leaving your comfort zone is hard. Staying broke is hard. Pick your heart.
And that one we love because a lot of agents have that, that mentality where they're comfortable, right? With how you're comfortable with X amount of deals that you do per year, but you're not getting to that income level that you want to get to. And the only way to get to the income level that you want to get to is generally to either work harder or work more efficiently to have better results. So we're going to talk about that today.
That was Grant Cardone, by the way, too. So,
yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to touch a little bit on this. So how many of you guys find yourself saying, like, I'm so busy, right? I mean, I think it's human nature. We live busy lives. We all have personal lives and professional lives, and sometimes they can be a lot. But what we find is that when agents actually break down, and we encourage all of you guys to do this, track your time, track your day, actually literally go down and time block out all the things that you did all day long for like a week and be very honest with yourself. And what we find is that most agents have about 30% of their time that they literally waste on whatever, and I've been guilty of it. Everyone's been guilty of it.
Email,
Facebook's a big one. Social media is a huge one. Email is a huge one too. There's a lot of time, that you spend like thinking about writing back to that email, right? Or thinking about the call that you're going to make or whatever, but it's all wasted time when you add up minutes of a day.
Yep.
So what we really find is that the most efficient and effective way to do those kind of tasks is to just literally set a timer for yourself. Does anyone ever notice, like, everyone performs better under pressure, generally? Look at sports. It's like people play hardest in the fourth quarter, right? Or the last 5 minutes of the game because the end is in sight and they have a deadline. And if you operate your business with those same principles, where like I have an hour to make calls, I'm gonna get as many calls done as I can in this hour, instead of dreading the 10 calls that you have to make and making each call drag on and then kind of distracting yourself so you don't have to do them. Make it like, I have 30 minutes and then I'm done, I'm gonna get it done, and you're gonna be a lot more motivated to do the task at hand. And you'll find you have a lot more time in your day because you're not filling it with meaningless stuff, that we all do to avoid the things that we should be doing. And one thing that Michael and I say a lot is do the hardest things first.
Absolutely.
The things in your day that you really don't want to do, get them done first in your day and your entire day is going to be more productive, because otherwise what happens? You dread it and you spend the whole day doing other stuff, procrastinating so that you don't have to do it, and then you get done with your day and you didn't get that thing done, and then you're disappointed in yourself. Darn, I really should have gotten that done, and I was, so it's so much better if you can just get it done. Your whole day will be won, and you're going to have a better attitude the whole day.
Yeah, you'll free up a lot more time too, because you realize that you not just are you doing the simple things first, but you find yourself, because you are dreading it, you waste time. And so if you do the hard things first, you realize how much more time you actually have in the day.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. So this quote we love: busyness does not always equal productivity. And I think in our business we have to look at it that way. Are you busy or are you productive? And what kind of tasks are you going to fill your day with? Hi there, welcome. So when you're thinking of your day, don't just think of ways to fill your day, right? Don't just think of, oh, is there a happy hour I can go to, or another class, or oh, is there somebody that I can meet up with, or do I need to run any errands? Think of productive business tasks first, get those done, and then if you have time, yeah, run that errand, get it done. Reward yourself for getting your productive task done. But this is a great one to keep in mind. And when you are thinking of your business and the amount of hours that you want to work, be honest with yourself on the amount of hours you're really actually going to commit to working. Because you don't have to. If you don't want to work 40 hours, you don't have to work 40 hours, but it's better to say, I'm going to commit to working 25 hours and work 25 great hours than to work 40 distracted hours. So I always say, in your business, be super honest with yourself about what you're going to commit and put into your business, and then stick to it. And if it's not 40 hours, that's okay. That's your prerogative to choose what you want. But 40 distracted hours is not nearly as productive as 20 super efficient productive hours. So keep
Even
that.
maybe change the verbiage of how you say it. You always catch yourself, oh, I had a really busy day. Well, there's a difference between saying I had a busy day and I had a very productive day. So you might change the way you say that too. So people say, did you have a good day? Yeah, I had a productive day. I had a very productive day.
So question for you guys, what do you consider a productive day?
Getting a deal.
Getting a deal. That would be the most kind of productive day, right? But what else?
Checking off all your points, your goals for the day.
Your to-do list, okay, that's a great one. Awesome. What else?
Setting an appointment.
Okay, awesome. What else?
Speaking with a certain number of people.
Exactly, contacts, perfect.
Database, yep.
Yeah.
Contacts.
What else?
How many of you do open houses? Do you schedule them?
Yes.
That's productive. Actually doing something about scheduling the open house, setting the open house up, doing the open house.
So one thing that I think is super interesting is most agents don't consider prospecting activities productive, like when they rattle off their activity, but that's literally the most productive thing you can do is prospect. So shift your mindset on that from, and I agree with you on the to-do list thing, but a lot of agents fill a to-do list with things that aren't prospecting, right? So that they don't have to prospect. But if you think about it as ultimately, as an agent, the number one most productive activity that you can do is prospect. Whether that's calls, emails, contacts, open house, however that looks for you in your business, prospecting should be your first priority every day. And if you can work that somehow into your business every day, you're going to see amazing results with it, especially if you stay consistent. Do you guys disagree with the prospecting thing?
No.
And how many people think they actually do it every day? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So Kelly, you guys have a pretty good machine with your team. You have obviously your dialers mostly, right?
Yeah.
But how do you guys structure your day to fit that in every day?
9 to 11.
Awesome.
Phones.
So that is what I was going to say. So most agents don't do it unless they have a time block every day to do it. Because otherwise, you just go with the flow, right? We just live our days as they come. But if you don't build prospecting into your day, it's really hard to get it done a lot of days because you do fill your day up with other stuff. So whether it's 2 hours, which is incredible, and that's why you guys are a high-producing team, or 30 minutes, or simply 5 phone calls a day. If you just make that rule of 5 calls a day to people in your database, you're going to see tremendous results over time. So whatever you decide your prospecting measure is going to be for the day, build something in every single day that you choose to work.
Yeah. And if it's something that you're a little bit afraid to get started or haven't really done a lot of, start small.
Yeah.
Like you said, so it is 3 live calls today from your contacts.
Yeah, if you're a newer agent and you have 50 people in your database, it may be 2 calls a day.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, getting your 2 calls a day will yield to ultimately productive conversations and deals. But it's certainly a lot better than not doing anything, right? Or just going on social media. But yeah, so prospecting is super, super important.
Absolutely.
All right, Michael, you dive into
Goal
this
versus commitment. Okay. There's a lot of times that we'll set things where we even write them down. But if you're not truly committed to it, then I think that's the difference between it. Goal is the most overused word in our business. How many times have you heard, set your goals high and see how close you get to it? Do you want to get close to your desired income, or would you rather surpass it? A commitment is something you must hit or accomplish, or there will be consequences. Okay? So make that commitment to what it is you want to achieve. And what does that look like getting there? What happens if you don't get there? What consequences are you going to set for yourself? These are important things that you should be thinking about. Goal versus commitment. Hold yourself accountable and commit to your success.
And I think this is super important because obviously we'd all like to make 500 grand this year, right? But if you set that as your goal, you're probably not, probably not with your heart. That's probably just something with your mind, a number that you decided to pick, right? So figure out what your commitment's going to be and set consequences to it for yourself too. I mean, ultimately, if you don't make X amount of money, you can't live your life and support your family or do whatever it is that you want to do in your personal life, right? So we all have bills. So ultimately, that should be your floor, and then find a number above that you're going to commit to earning for the year, and that way you're more motivated with your heart to get there, rather than just a lofty number that you pick because of income, because it sounds good. You know?
It's truly where commitment lies is in the heart, so not in the mind, because you do that so often. We'll decide, oh, I'm going to start going to the gym, right? New Year's resolution to go to the gym, and we do that, and then maybe you do it for a little bit, you don't, but you never truly committed, because if you had, you'd be in the habit of doing it every day. Commit with your heart. Know what it is what you want, and then take action.
And when we do our business plans, you are going to actually figure out a number, that number for yourself that you want it to be, and we're going to help you get there and understand why that number is there too. So we'll get to that in a bit. So we asked you guys the question, how many of you have business plans? But what we found when we researched is that less than 5% of agents have a business plan, which is crazy to us when we saw that. But a lot of them either just don't really think they're important, or they don't have access to a plan or program. They're not really held accountable by anyone, really, oftentimes is another reason, or maybe they're just not that motivated. They're just comfortable with doing whatever they're doing. But the reality is also 95% of the business in this industry is done by 5% of the agents. So the question is, you don't want to be one of the 95% that's doing no business. You want to be in that top 5% that's doing a good amount of business. And in Maricopa County, it's no different. There's over 50,000 licensed agents in Maricopa County here. But when you look at the averages, the average agent does 2 deals a year, and that's just not the case. I mean, there's so many part-time agents that have their license and do another full-time job. So you guys are here because you want to do this as your full-time job, I hope. And that really, with that, you need to get yourself into that level of doing, the higher end of the business to make a great income for yourself. So we're going to talk about how to do that. All right.
How do we execute? This is something I'm a big believer in, is create a crystal clear vision of what you want. If you were in the class before, we talked about, well, what business activities do you want to do? What are your strengths? Focus on those things that you're really good at. Pick 3 activities that you want to do. Well, what are they? All right, and then be crystal clear on how that's going to work. 100% commitment to the vision. This is where, again, with the heart, we want you to commit here. Get out of your own way. That's the biggest person in your way is you. So get out of your own way. Make the commitment here. And then start to make a clear plan. So if it is those business activities, what are you going to be doing with those business activities? List that out. Start structuring your day, your week, your month with all these different business activities that you made a commitment to do, and then the next action is to start to implement them. If it's 3 to 5 live calls a day from 9 to 10, that's going to be in your plan. You're going to make the 3 to 5 live calls. If you're doing 2 open houses a weekend, that's going to be in your schedule. And being even specific after you put them in there about what you're going to do. I'm going to market 100 properties to that open house the day before. I'm going to go out to Facebook and post in all the different open. Be specific about the tasks you're going to do for that commitment that you made. So if it is open house, write down everything you're going to do for that open house. Not just write down open house. Okay? And then accountability. What's going to hold you accountable to doing it? Is it another agent? Is it your significant other? Is it a friend? Have somebody to hold you accountable so that you get there. Someone that's going to be honest and true with you too. That's going to call you out.
So we think this is probably, besides committing with your heart, this is probably the most important thing, is having somebody to help hold you accountable, because everyone's going to get discouraged at some point. We all are going to have things in our personal life or professional life that are going to totally get you down, and you're not going to want to get up and make your calls the next day. And having an accountability partner who really speaks to you in a non-judgmental way, but helps kind of motivate you to get you back on track or see the bigger picture, is so important for staying focused and motivated, even during those times when you're super frustrated. And it helps you get to the wins quicker, right? Because what most agents have is they, have these businesses that are really inconsistent, where they, close 2 deals and 0 deals and 3 deals and 0 deals in a month, So the idea is that we want our business to be a little more like this, right? So that we're having a consistent stream of income. And what happens is that usually when people are here, they stop working and prospect, or here, because they're busy, they're happy or content with the transactions that you have, and then all of a sudden you're in this lull period, and then you start hustling again, and you get some more transactions. But the accountability partner can help keep you motivated all the time, regardless of where you are in that curve, so that it's smaller. And that way you do have deals closing every month on a consistent basis and a consistent income for yourself, which is a lot more comfortable, right? You're not worrying about when your next commission check's going to be. So the accountability partner, we feel, is crucial in that. So find another agent you can partner up with. If you have a significant other that you're comfortable with that, do it with them. A lot of people, they're not comfortable to have their significant other be their accountability partner because they may not understand your business if they're not in the business. So
there's actually even an accountability workshop here in my home group. So every other week on Wednesday from 11 to 12, it's a workshop. It is set your 2-week goals. You come in, there's a little sheet that you fill out and you write out what you can do the next 2 weeks. Then you come back every 2 weeks. It's non-judgmental. It's all about helping you achieve what you want to achieve in the next 2 weeks. All the vendor partners are involved in this, so there's another option for an accountability partner right there. It's right here in my home group.
But you have to find something that really just kind of a check-in, because otherwise all of a sudden, as we all know, you get busy and oh my gosh, it's a new month, right? And I didn't really get anything done last month, or I didn't close a deal, or whatever. So accountability partner really helps keep you focused on those productive activities too. Who has one already? Accountability partner. Yeah? How does it work for you guys?
We suck at it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because we don't hold each other accountable. We distract each other and
well, may not be the right person. Yeah. What about you? You have one? It works for you, obviously?
I hired him.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So oftentimes what most people do is they have to actually hire a coach. It's very difficult to find somebody who is invested in your success as much as you are, unless it's a great friend, but oftentimes then it's like you let each other off the hook a lot. So there's a reason why the highest performing individuals in any industry get coached or have an accountability partner or a mentor. It's because that person is going to do the best job of holding you accountable. So if that's an option for you, that may be something to look into. There's a lot of great programs around, but it is a game changer, can be a game changer in your business, right? So do you always like talking to them?
Nope, hate them.
Yeah. It's difficult, right? But it's kind of like, I don't know, how would you describe it? What would you?
Well, it just puts you on the hot seat and you have to be ready, because if you're not ready, you're still paying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, put your money where your mouth is.
It's a great way to basically invest in your own success, because that person is going to, hold you accountable to what the goals that you've set to be successful. So,
well, there's always that because when you first initially meet your accountability partner or coach, you're setting out a plan. So it might be, okay, I'm making 10 calls a day, I'm doing these different things, and then when you come up to that end of the week call, you have to answer for that. So there's a lot of times where you start to go, oh, I only got half of it done, and then that's why a lot of people, I think, get fearful of it rather than just attacking, embracing it. Because even if you got half of it done, it's better than not doing anything at all. So being consistent is the magic with it. So getting somebody that's going to be there, hold you accountable, and be consistent with you on that. So
absolutely. All right. So are there any brand new agents in here? A few. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, welcome. We're happy that you're here. This may not apply to you as much, but how many of you actually analyzed your business from last year? Awesome. And did it surprise you?
No.
Okay, good. That's a great answer. So what we hope is that you should understand, and we can send you guys these slides too, by the way.
Okay.
Forgot to tell you that. What we want you to look at is, of all the deals that you closed, where does your business come from? And a lot of times, and be very specific, and that's why we broke it down into all these different things. So, is it your sphere or circle of influence, past clients, referrals, business or professional networks, geographical farming, open houses, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, website, print ads, sign calls, expired renters. So there's obviously tons of different ways we can get business in this industry. That's one of the great things about it. But you have to be very specific to understand where your business is coming from, because it helps you understand where you want to invest your time and energy next year. So with this, we want you to think about, where did your business come from last year? And then, is that where you want it to come from? So, you know, if it came from, a lot of people, it's either open houses or database. Some people do online lead gen, but they're like, I did get a lot of business from online lead gen, but it was hard business, and I don't necessarily want that type of business this year. So we want you to be honest with yourself too, not just in where your business came from, but where you want it to come from, so that you can craft your ideal business too. So for those of you that raised your hands that tracked it, where did your guys' business come from?
Networking.
Awesome.
Mine was referrals.
Referrals?
Clients, referrals,
Top three.
all of it.
Awesome.
New entries.
And you know exactly like percentages?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Awesome.
So what is the goal? I mean, I guess everyone's will be a little different, but what kind of business do you want? Referrals, right?
Yeah.
So I would say for most agents, that is what they want long term, is they want to build a referral-based business. And I think that ultimately is the most sustainable type of business, because it's people that you're going to have in your life for a long haul, right? And it basically, it's the whole like law of reciprocity. You did a great job for them, they'll refer you to their friends and hope you do a great job, and you will. But there's a deeper connection there than most other lead sources that you're going to get. So with that, we're going to talk about ways to increase repeat and referral business a little later too. But definitely, it's really important to be tracking this. A lot of people don't, and if you don't, you're really missing out on a big picture of your business, and also kind of like where you're on time as well, where you're spending time, where you're wasting time. If you're spending a lot of time on maybe one of these, like farming, that didn't get you any business, then maybe we need to reevaluate that. So,
Yeah, or spending money too.
Yeah.
So it might be, you might be spending a lot of money on Zillow, but you were really getting a high conversion rate off of that, but you were on some of the others, your Sphere, maybe the open houses. So really show you where you can shift different resources to increase other things for you. So open houses are something you can invest more into that, or maybe it's not Zillow, maybe it's a different lead generation system that you can shift that money that you're spending into it. So it's always great to really analyze where everything's at, and knowing the numbers is the most important piece of it all. It's not just what you're doing, it's what are the numbers on everything you're doing. How much money you're spending, how many people came through, how many people you talked to, all that stuff. Once that stuff gets tracked, you know exactly where you can zero in on your business.
absolutely. I feel like we're missing a slide, so we're going to write it on the board. We are missing a slide. So we're going to talk really quickly about things that you should track in your business. While we were on that, we had a slide in here, and I don't know why it must be the old version of this. So what are some things that you, as far as running a business as a real estate agent, what are some things that you need to track?
All your expenses.
Absolutely, that's the first one. And does anyone know any great ways to do that?
An Excel spreadsheet. Yeah.
Perfect.
Spreadsheet.
Yeah. But if you don't do either of those, what's another way?
Mint.com.
Mint.com? Awesome. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that. What's that?
You just it's an app on your phone, and you set it up, and then after a while, it recognizes certain things, and it automatically puts it in a category. And so literally, you can see exactly what's going on.
That's awesome. Love it.
It's right there.
Mint.com. Wow, awesome. Thanks for the tip of the day.
Yeah.
There's another one called TaxBot that I just learned through a Zip Forms class.
Cool. TaxBot?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it'll track your mileage, and then you can connect it with like your credit cards or your checking account, so it'll track your expenses.
Awesome. So does everyone have a business credit card?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't, I would recommend that you get one and then put all your business expenses on there. That's the easiest way. Obviously, it's not always possible, but that way, as far as month in, month out, that's pretty much the simplest. If you're not using one of these, you need to be tracking on some sort of spreadsheet or QuickBooks also, or if Mint does it, that's great. We have one. We can email out if you need it. Let us know. It kind of breaks it down monthly. But yeah, definitely have to be tracking your expenses. A good tip I find for people is like for eating out and things like that. A lot of people get confused, right? Or want to write off maybe some meals that they maybe weren't necessarily professional, but could have been. Take a picture of the receipt and immediately when you're out to the meal and write a client name on it at the top, whoever you're out with. And email it to yourself, and in the subject line put receipt, and then create a folder in your email for receipts, and then do it that way as well. Because what I find is that for the purchases for our business that are clearly business purchases, it's very easy, right? We can look at our CRM costs and this and that and the other, but for all the miscellaneous stuff that we buy, which is a lot, from even like closing gifts from Target and things like that, when you go back, you don't remember what's what. So do the picture thing. That really helps and is an easy way to do it, and then sort it into a folder in your email for easy reference. So that's a tip for that. Okay, so what are a couple other things we need to track?
Hours that we spend working, like prospecting and...
Perfect. I think this is amazing, and most agents don't do it. So track your time. It's super important because if you're working 60 hours a week and making 40 grand a year, you're doing something wrong, right? So we need to figure that out. So time is a super important one, and that helps when you go back to actually what we said earlier, track your time, block your day out for your productive activities, and then if you don't want to work a full day, don't say that you're going to work a full day, but that way you can account for how much time you've actually spent.
Yeah, you've always heard of return on investment, right? So what you're putting in, but there's such a thing as return on time. So what is your time? You should be tracking so we know what your return on time is.
What else?
Your production.
Production, exactly. So you should have a spreadsheet of all your deals that you've closed, what your gross commission was, what your net commission was, how much time you spent with that person, where the deal came from, all that stuff. We have a spreadsheet for that we can send you to. But basically, you should have a running thing that tells you all the deals you've closed for the year, and it calculates your total income for the year as well. So production is important. What else?
Income.
Income. So I'm going to call that a P&L. So profits and losses. So there's some months that you're going to be negative in this business, probably, hopefully not if you're doing a lot of deals, but realistically there will be. So a P&L will help you. It basically puts your expenses and your production into both on there, in addition to some other miscellaneous things to help you figure out actually what your income looks like and help you make projections for the future too. So that's another thing that you can track. And the way that I would do this is have it all in one spreadsheet with different tabs. That would be the way that I would do it. We have one that's formatted that way if you need it. But definitely you need to be keeping track of this, because this is where people that don't get that huge shock, like, oh my gosh, I have a $25,000 tax bill and I wasn't anticipating it and I'm freaking out, you know? So this will help you account for that. And then what else? Any other ideas? Pipeline, that's what I was just going to say. So you should also be tracking what you have coming up, right? Your current clients, and then basically, you know, what leads you're actively working with, and what the probability of it converting into a deal is, so that you can have a projection on what your income is going to be for the next quarter, because it's really important. That will also help you know if you need to hustle harder, right, to get some more deals going before you're negative on your P&L that quarter. So that's also really important. Anything else that you guys can think of that you need to track regularly in your business? Somebody said mileage, but yeah, all that kind of will be.
Could fit it in.
Yeah. Anything else? I think this is a great start.
Very good start.
Yeah. Referrals would be something else that I would track down the road. But for now, this is awesome. Okay, we're going to keep on moving on. All right, so
These are some of the things that we think you should have.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, must-haves for every agent. I think a business plan with a career commitment. That's what this course is. This class is all about. A lead management system, a lead follow-up system. We know that, like we were saying, if you don't have a system, you have to create one. You have to create an Excel sheet and track it yourself. That goes the same thing with your leads. So why not have a system that will help you follow up with your leads? Where there's automated campaigns and things built into it. So it's something that we think you should have. A drip email campaign, excellent telephone skills, because believe it or not, people can read you over the phone. They can tell if you're happy or not. They can tell if you are down. They can tell. So excellent telephone skills, great listening. This is one of the best characteristics of an agent, is to be able to listen. Listening to your clients is the number one thing. Listen to them and you'll know exactly what you need to do for them every single time. So market data, statistics, neighborhood information, this is something you should always be up on. Always know what's going on in your area for your clients. Website would be great. Doesn't have, and Liz will agree with me on this.
Yeah.
Website doesn't have to be spectacular. It doesn't have to be something you spend an incredible amount of money on. It's just something that's nice that people can go to. They can search for homes. They can get your information, things like that. So having a website we think is important. Obviously, business cards. You can have a personal brochure if you want, but at the very least, you should have business cards, note cards. If you do have a personal brochure, that's great. Something a little bit about you and the business. Systems to help your business run more efficiently. That's always going to be something that's good for you. So, for example, you just mentioned that mint.com, that might be something better than doing through Excel or something like that. So, great title partner, lender, home warranty person. This is a list. If you've been to my business development class, I talk about your power partners. This is extremely important. So having not only a great relationship with them, but these are sit-down meetings you should be doing on a regular basis, learning about their business, how they're helping you with your business. So having these great partners is huge. And then, of course, back to accountability partner. We think is, if not closely, the number one thing you should have is somebody to hold you accountable for all these things. So.
Absolutely. So here's some first year numbers. A lot of agents ask these kind of questions, especially newer agents. So where does most people's business come from? So for a new agent, 60% of their business is from buyers, 40% from sellers. These are national averages, by the way, too, which some of these we wrote our comments in. 65% of listings will sell and close is the national average for a first year agent. I think that's really low. In our marketplace right now, inventory has been low for a long time, so things are selling. Pretty much, unless it's a crazy property or it's priced insanely high and your sellers have terrible expectations on price, it should sell. So I would think that should be about 80 to 90% in our market right now. 80% of buyer contracts will close. That's pretty standard. 80% of listing appointments will generate a listing. That seems super high to me. Even the best in the industry say about 50%. But what I realized, what we talked about is, for first year agents, who are they going on a listing appointment with? Friends and family, people they know. So they're going to have a higher success rate with those. So for your sphere, it could be 80% on success rate with your sphere or referrals for a listing appointment. But for a cold person that you've never met before, it's going to be about 50%. Even like Russell Shaw, all the best in the business say it's about 50%. And 65% of new buyer appointments convert to a contract, and I think that's pretty accurate too. So the reason why we put these in here is because you need to know your numbers, right? If you need to close X amount of deals, you need to figure out how many appointments that is to close that many, and then how many meetings that is to get that many appointments, which we're going to talk about in our business plan. But your numbers are going to be different, so over time, track your numbers and know them, and that'll help you figure out your ratios. And then online lead averages, 4 appointments made equals 1 closing is about right for online leads, and 10 conversations with leads equals 1 appointment is what the averages say.
Right. Your number's going to be different, so the more you track what you're doing, you'll know what your numbers are.
But those are some good numbers to be aware of when you're talking about this. Lead gen, basically 90% of all home buyers and sellers are beginning to research 1 to 5 years prior You need a CRM. You basically, obviously, you need to understand the difference between prospecting and marketing, which we're going to talk about a little bit here.
Yeah.
Does everyone understand? Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to go back. Does everyone understand the difference between prospecting and marketing? I see some shaking heads, but we're going to write it out.
Yep.
So this is one thing that we find a lot of agents have confusion about. And maybe you'll prove us wrong. Hopefully you will. But what we find is that, okay, so what are some activities you would consider prospecting?
Maybe networking meetings.
Open houses.
Open
Okay. Open house. Anybody else?
Phones,
Sorry?
phone calls.
Phones? Okay. Anybody else?
Door knocking.
Newsletter?
Keep coming.
Farming.
Begging?
What else? What about social media?
Marketing.
Yep. What else?
Facebook ads?
Okay, is that
Yeah,
prospecting
social
or marketing?
Well, it could be either. If
Correct.
you're doing online lead generation, it'd be prospecting.
Yeah, so paid ads, in my opinion, are prospecting.
Okay.
Whereas posts and stuff are marketing. Okay, so what else? This is a pretty good list. Newsletter is marketing.
Mailers, yeah.
Farming, depending on how you do it, is marketing. Networking can also be marketing, depending on how you do it. So we're going to break down like the difference, because this is where a lot of agents are like, oh yeah, I prospected today. I went to a BNI group and I put a post on Facebook and I did a video. None of that is actually prospecting when you actually break it down. So in our opinion, here's the difference between prospecting and marketing. Prospecting is obviously more of an active activity and marketing is more of a passive activity. Prospecting is you are going to get business. Marketing is you are waiting for business to come to you. So most agents like marketing better because it's more fun, right? And it's easier. Prospecting is tougher. So prospecting, telemarketing, or cold calls. So you can cold call just listed, just sold, past clients, FSBOs, expireds, or a geographical farm. So that is an active, you're looking for business. In-person prospecting, door knocking, open houses, networking events, depending on how you do them. So you said networking, so I want to hear how you use that as prospecting. Because you said all your business comes from it too, so.
Well, referrals and prospecting.
Okay.
But in prospecting, that's where I get my database.
Awesome.
So I talk to people and make sure I have a lot of information about them and put them in my database.
Awesome. So that, did you hear what she said? What's the key to what she said?
Getting
Make sure I have a lot of information about them and put them in my database. So that's an active activity. Going to a networking meeting and shaking some hands and having a beer with somebody is not prospecting. You have to collect contact information and make a step after that to keep in front of the people. That's how it turns into prospecting. Seminars, networking events, boosted events, chamber of commerce, clubs and organizations, all are prospecting if you're getting contact information and adding them to your database. That's when it's considered prospecting versus marketing. And then online, obviously you can prospect on real estate consumer specific websites and social media. Social media would be a paid ad, something when you're taking a step to actively look for buyers or sellers, not just putting a post out, but doing something that's a little more active. And then marketing, obviously, is advertising. Newspaper, billboards, yellow pages, radio, TV, magazines, grocery carts, car washes, bus benches, Craigslist. Your website is marketing, unless you're running ads to it. That could be prospecting. But websites and direct mail, postcards, all of that's marketing. Just listed, just sold, it's all marketing. Farming generally is marketing, unless you're doing something active with it. Social media is marketing yourself. Sponsorship is generally marketing yourself as well. So do you guys see the difference between the two? And do you see how we can fill all of our time with this stuff? I mean, you can't. You can spend your whole day marketing and actually not getting any business. And that's what I think a lot of agents do. They really spend a ton of time on social media, but what they find is that it doesn't convert at a very high rate unless you're actively reaching out to people individually that you're friends with on social media.
Yeah, it's, marketing is, not that it's not important, it is part of your business. It is something that you will do for your business. But recognizing the difference between the two will help you set it apart so that you know exactly where to invest most of your time. So,
Any questions on any of that? Okay, we're gonna keep on keeping on. So with accountability, we talked about this, but basically it's a method to keep you on track with your commitments, and you want to find someone who'll speak from a non-judgmental point of view and help keep you motivated. But we really touched on the rest of that
notice how we
already.
talk about accountability a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, very important part of your
It
business.
is important. And it's uncomfortable. I think she said she hates it. It is uncomfortable. When you first do an accountability practice, it's very awkward. You hate it. It feels like they're your parents and you have a 10 o'clock curfew where you're home at 10 o'clock. It's that kind. It feels very uncomfortable at first. But if you kind of accept it and embrace it, it can be an incredible thing for your business. It could change your whole life as far as your business.
Once you start to see your business change, you start to realize how effective and powerful it is. And you'll just want to make sure you're doing it all the time. So getting started is key.
Yes, it is. All right, so here are some books that we love and recommend. And basically, we love this quote. If you want to be successful, find someone who's achieved the results that you want and do what they do, and you'll achieve the same results. Obviously, that's not always true, but in this business, there are so many people who've made millions of dollars and have thriving, insane, amazing businesses out there. And yeah, we want to be different. We want to be authentic to ourselves and what works for us. But if you want to do open houses, find somebody who's killer at open houses and copy their plan. Don't spend hours trying to reinvent the wheel. So here are some books of just general sales tips, general real estate stuff that we like. I don't know, Michael, if you want to touch on any, but.
Yeah, some of my favorites in here, I love Mr. Schmooze, Sub Levels Communications, great raving fans. 10X by Grant Cardone is awesome as well. The Millionaire Real Estate, that's been around forever. If you've read that, that's a good read as well. So I like a lot of those. Of course, I just talked about the few that I really like. I always think it should be a part of your business anyway. You should be reading something about your business all the time, which helps you stay motivated and on track. So,
how many of you don't have time to read? Be honest. So I have 3 little boys and I work full time. I do not have time to read, but I have time to put a podcast on in my car when I'm driving around. So there's always a way. You just have to find a way that works for you.
that's my next
Audible.
thing.
Yeah,
Go
I listen to
audiobooks.
Audible all the time.
it's awesome. Yeah.
I should be doing audiobooks every day. I have a 35-minute drive. I could be getting a lot of audiobook
Yes,
time
you
in. So
could.
it's my next step.
All right.
And while you work out.
Yes, that is a great thing. Yeah. All right, and we talked about partners a little bit, but again, I'm a vendor partner, so I want to stress your partners should make you look better in your business, period, end of story. If they're not, find new people. And I feel like right now the baseline is doing a good job. Your partner should be offering more value to your business than just doing a good job for your deals. So find people who, and this is not a shameless plug, but find people who are committed to helping you. There are great people in our industry. The power partners here are all amazing. So make sure, find people that are willing to help you.
Yeah, they're like-minded. They want to build their business too. So you want to work with like-minded partners. They're constantly helping you build yours. You're helping them build theirs. That's what you should be striving for, not just working with someone that's always constantly take. Okay, find some good partners.
Yeah, and ultimately, any of your vendor partners should know that they're a reflection of you. So when you guys give them a client, that's also your reputation, and they should take amazing care of your clients. And ultimately, they should want referrals too, so they should do a great job. Okay, so these plans, thank you. So take one of these and one of these. We're going to work through these together. And Michael and I are going to be walking around helping as we go. But basically, if you can, let's all try to stay together as we're explaining the steps. It'll be a lot easier because that way we can just explain it to everyone all at once. So
Do you have enough?
you should. everyone get one of these? Perfect. Perfect. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to give a little disclaimer here before we get started. There's math involved in this, and a lot of people hate math, so we get it. Get your calculator out on your phone. You're going to need that the whole time. And Michael and I are here to help you, and if we walk through the steps together, this is going to be a lot simpler. But first, we want you to start with this page first. Before you get into numbers, go to the vision page. So
this is your chance. When we're talking about being honest, okay? Be as real as you can with this vision statement. Don't just write something down you think sounds good.
So we really feel like before you can even make a business plan for yourself, you really need to understand what you want your business to look like. And that's hard for a lot of people, right? It's not just about the money, or it's not just about the number of deals. It's about the life that you want for yourself. That's why you're in this business. So we want you to take a few minutes to write this, or at least jot down all the bullet points of all the things you want to put in there, and then you can craft one later. But a good example, so this vision statement here, last year I easily closed 40 transactions and earned $350,000. I efficiently worked 180 days, allowing me to take ample vacation, family, and training time to recharge my engines. So that incorporates a lot more than money. It incorporates lifestyle, right? And that, if you can build a business that fits with the lifestyle that you want, it's going to make you love your business a lot more. So let's take a minute and write down what your vision for your business would be. And if you don't know it, like I said, put bullet points, start with bullet points, and then you can craft it later. But I definitely think this is super important before you get started to keep this in mind the whole time.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
We need a few more minutes. How about 2 more minutes? All right, and if you are done, go on to the second question. Why is success this year a must for you? We like this question, and like, be real and honest with yourself. Nobody else is going to see this, but this is where, you know, lots of things can be in there. It could be retirement planning, it could be putting kids through college, it could be paying debt, it could be just living the life that you want, it could be anything. But be honest about what it is and kind of dig down to find more motivation for yourself.
That's right. The business plans work when it's real, when it's really you, when you invest here and you get it down on paper, that's when they work.
All right, 1 more minute. All right, everyone done? Okay, we're going to move along. So the next thing, we feel that, like we said, throwing a dart out at an arbitrary number for income goal doesn't work. It doesn't keep people motivated. So what we like to start with is how much money do you need to make to live, and go for and add on top of that and on top of that. So the first page here is determining how much it actually costs you to live. So a lot of you may not know every single one of these numbers off the top of your head. Try to get close, and I always say round up if you're, you know, a little bit unsure, because it's better basically to overestimate your expenses than underestimate, I think. So with this, go through there, fill out each of those. Some of the categories won't apply to you, but then there'll be others that will, that you'll have to add in. But try to get to a monthly number for yourself, at bare minimum, just paying your bills. And then, obviously, at the bottom, multiply that by 12 to get an annual cost of living. But how many of you actually track this, your budget? Okay, awesome,
Good.
great, love it. This is amazing. That's like twice as many as normal. So what we find is that most agents don't actually know this number. They just know how much they make, right? But it's like, how much do you actually need to live? So I think it's important to know that number too. And when you add it up, oftentimes it's a lot bigger and more than you think. I know when I did mine, I was like $2,000 a month over what I thought I needed a month. I actually needed $2,000 more a month than I thought. So it's amazing when you actually put it all down on paper. And think about every single thing, like the gym and everything that you do. I find that most agents, where they really miss the mark, most people, where they miss the mark on this most is eating out and
Yeah.
shopping and entertainment.
Yeah.
Most people spend like double what they think they do on, you know, when you add up all the Starbucks trips and all the other things and eating out, and it can
That's
be a
me.
lot.
Eating out.
Yeah, eating out, I mean, it can be $20 a day or whatever too, you know? Oh, no, you're
Well,
fine.
if you have a family.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, I get it.
we actually kept it, we started keeping it separate.
Did
So
you?
we do the groceries,
Mm-hmm.
and then we do eating out, like, nice restaurant, and then that fast food, because you're on the go and you don't
Totally.
think about it. That helped us target how to cut it down when the number gets too high.
That's awesome. That's
So-
smart. I have mine split obviously between groceries and dining out, but I didn't think to split up with like kid food versus kid on the run versus me going out to dinner, because it's a different expense. You're right.
So credit card's a little redundant if you put all your.
I think what that means though is if you carry balance. So if you have a running credit card debt that you're trying to pay down, which is a lot of Americans, unfortunately, they pay a flat amount every month towards it. I think, the common categories that a lot of people miss are like dry cleaning, housekeeper, landscaper, pool service, for your business, obviously cell phone, but then, there's obviously,
Cell phones in there.
yeah, well, we have a business expense one coming up actually, so I'll wait on this, but. Clothing, I think, is one that people miss. Even if people don't think of like a monthly shopping budget, they go out twice a year and buy, $1,000 worth of stuff. So it's like if you add the $2,000 worth of stuff that you buy twice a year over monthly, you got to think of it that way too. So I think that's one. Clothing, I think, is a lot oftentimes missed.
Especially if you buy some of your kids' clothes at Target or,
Oh yeah.
then you get, it looks like something else. So you have to sort of think about how many times a year you do that.
Totally. Medical is one, like health insurance. A lot of people forget those bills. Health insurance, life insurance, any kind of the monthly recurring stuff like that comes out. Car insurance, all that's in there.
So real estate expenses then, the super and the
Those
photos
are
and all
coming
that.
up.
We'll do that later.
Yes,
I
those
see.
are coming up. So those will be separate.
Oh, I know.
Oh, you did? Sorry.
No worries.
So yeah, we have I should have stated that. We have a separate business expenses thing coming later.
They do come later.
So, if you can back them out, that'd be great. If not, it's not the end of the world. We can just not add them later. It'll all be ultimately the same number. The difference though is obviously those can be generally a write-off, so taxes get added in to this part and not that part, so. Alright, so do we need another minute or two, or are we ready to move on? How about raise your hand if you're ready to move on? Okay. We're gonna wait one more minute.
Yeah, that's about half.
Yeah.
That's cheaper. Lucky.
All right, so you should end with an annual number at the bottom of just what it takes you to pay your bills, and that's it. And live.
To pay our bills, but not shopping.
Well, well, that could be,
Price for
yes,
clothes.
living. I mean, you need clothes to live, right?
Okay,
So,
so to pay bills
Yeah.
and
yeah.
our own personal expenses.
But then on the next page, it asks you, but how much do you really want to make? So this is where you add in things like retirement planning and college and vacations or new car or whatever it is. So if you have those big ticket items that you want to put in there, this is where you can put those in and figure out what income would be your ideal income right now. And this again isn't like we'd all like to make $1 million, but let's be a little more realistic here. Let's put in a number that you think would help you obviously be able to live your life and cover all of your expenses, but still have some fun money or retirement planning money or whatever, money that you want to have. So put a number there. That's at the top, and that is going to go at the very top of your pyramid page in the green box. That's going to be your target take-home income for the year. And I'm going to warn you here, the numbers are going to get bigger for a little while and scarier and uglier, but then they're going to get smaller and easier at the end. So we're going to break it down, so hang with us. So now that's how much you really want to make target take-home after taxes, but now what about taxes? And what about business expenses? And what about brokerage fees and all that? So we're going to add all that in. So the number's going to get bigger. And then we're going to break it down smaller. So now let's add taxes in next. So at the bottom there, it kind of gives you a calculator example. And this is where Michael and I can help you. They did just change the self-employment tax laws, so they're better, which is great. But you need to have an idea of what tax bracket you're in based upon your income. I had a chart and I didn't bring it.
Be conservative here.
Yeah. I would say, most agents are in the 10 to 25% tax bracket for self-employment. So it depends on...
But doesn't your spouse's income factor?
It does if you file jointly. So if you have a spouse with a significant income, I'd put yourself on the higher end of it, 25% probably. So here we're going to calculate basically how to get it. So you follow the example. If you need help, raise your hand. But basically it's going to take it, like here the example went from 90,000 to 128,000. So it's going to go up a lot based upon taxes depending on your percentage. So if you need help, raise your hand.
How to do it. And
Yeah.
Do we take our target take-home income?
I'm sorry.
We take our target take-home income?
Yeah. And divide it by, like,
whatever the tax.
yeah.
The tax rate for.
Not the tax rate. So it's 1 minus your tax rate. So if you're if you're a point, if you're 20% tax bracket, you divide it by 0.8.
Okay.
If you're 25, it's 0.75. You guys get the deal.
So,
Do you guys get it?
Yeah.
No,
So the brackets definitely changed. Do we have those?
I'm sorry.
The brackets?
Oh,
Like different.
done.
I think.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's the same thing, yeah. I can pull up the brackets right now and tell you.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So does this also factor in your social security that you're paying okay, that does not factor.
It does not factor in Social Security. I'll pull up tax brackets right now.
If you're under 250, most likely you'd be.
So you put the amount here, the percentage here?
Yes.
Over 250.
Yeah, after.
I don't know what,
Right.
what phone it says, but I'm confused. Thank you.
So whatever your tax rate is, divide that by 100 to get your percentages like you did up top.
So now I need to make 50,000 more.
How you what?
Have to make 50,000 more to get to
Well,
the
it's gonna
target.
get bigger, and then it's gonna change.
It's gonna be even bigger
And then the
too.
answer you put right here
This is,
in map
you're on a
one.
different, you're on a different page.
Well, you're minus 1
Did
point,
you do this page?
so whatever your,
I did.
whatever
Where's
your
the-
tax
I
rate
don't really know what to do.
Okay.
I'll help you in just a
is,
second, yeah.
so you
Well, my
take the
target
1
take home
minus
is
the whatever your
75.
tax rate is,
Yeah.
that's your tax rate, 1 minus
What's your
that.
tax
Divided
bracket?
by-
Like 500 grand.
I'm 400.
And then you'll pull that number down, then you'll.
That's
pull
usually
it down.
like this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
going.
Yeah, but that goes
I'm
up
sure I
to-
do.
Looking up the brackets
No,
right
that's
there.
class.
Right, you already, you have
Okay, you
to-
divided it by
this is your
what?
tax rate, so
No, why
if-
point
see up
seven?
here?
30% tax
Is your
bracket.
rate, you put 30
Okay.
It's an average.
divided by
So-
100.
Oh, got it. So really, I
So
put
when the tax
25.
bracket is that?
Yeah.
Divided by
Is that the
100.
point
Right.
of the cost?
Which is the 175.
Right,
It will be
and then, this is gonna carry down here, you can take the 1 minus
What have rental income?
When I do the target take home income, it's just from me, right? Not from my husband?
This is just for fun.
Okay, so do you guys wanna know the tax brackets? Okay, so if you make 82,000 to 157,000, and you're filing as single, your tax rate's 24%.
What?
If you make, and this might not be, let me see, self-employed.
Wait, I think it's
Okay,
like.
so now that's.
Actually, this is the 2018, let me go to 2019.
This number goes here, yeah.
They'll just round it.
Oh, I
And it's gonna get bigger, so the number's gonna go up more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to put that?
It gets complicated with all the percentages.
So yeah, if you make, I mean, most people are gonna be, let's see,
Okay, so you
there's
got.
multiple self-employed tax.
Yeah, that number's gonna get bigger, but then it'll change.
Yeah, so did everyone kind of figure out what percentage they're in? So I would say, 20 to 30% is probably safe. So your numbers should be bigger. Did everyone get to the bigger number? Bigger and uglier? Okay, so that is how much your target taxable income. Did everyone get that? We good? Raise your hand if you need help and we'll come around. We don't want to leave anyone behind because you got to keep,
I need help.
yeah,
I'm embarrassed
you
to
got to
say
keep the
sorry.
numbers, otherwise you can't follow along. So here you go. So what's your tax bracket?
I'm completely confused. Well, I'm gonna use 25%. I have rental income, I don't count what the government does, so.
Did you get it?
Huh?
So you divide this by 6.75, so it's about 100,000.
Oh, divide.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think he came up with 103,000.
Yeah, that's
I just
right.
wasn't sure how it all figured out, so, divided by 0.75.
Yep, perfect. Yep, so that, okay, so does everyone have their number? Okay. Do you need, anyone need help? Raise your hand if you do.
Yeah, so you have this here, so now you take 1 minus 0.5.
You've got $400,000.
All right, should we keep going? Okay. So that enables us to pay all your expenses and pay your taxes and have that extra money that you want to make, but now we have to add in brokerage commissions. And this is where it gets a little complicated because there's teams and this and different, people pay different splits and stuff. But we're going to help you. So the examples in here are if you pay like a commission split, like a commission split brokerage. That's what the example gives for the first example. So turn to page 6. And we
Well, page 6 is where you're gonna enter everything.
yeah, so we can do that here. So if you're on a team and you pay a split, use the commission split example as it's listed. If you are not on a team and don't pay a split other than your $300 transaction fee to the company here, we're gonna do an average based upon the average sales price for Maricopa County. So this is where it's gonna get confusing based upon price point, but just for round numbers, the average transaction in Maricopa County is about, let's say, $300,000. It's 282 actually, I think, but $300,000 and you pay $300 here. So 300 divided by, well here, $300,000 sales price times 0.03, so $9,000 commission, and $300 out of $9,000 is 0.03%. So you pay a 3% commission split here at my home group for a $300,000 house. But if you do more expensive houses, that will be less, and if you do less expensive houses, the split will be more. So what I would recommend is use somewhere between 0.03 to 0.05. This would be if you are lower end houses like 200K. This would be if you're doing, 500K or less, or actually 400 really.
Yeah,
It goes up though.
those of you that are brand new, you definitely can use one of these numbers. But those of you that have been in the business for a while, you could go back and see what you did the last 12 months. Figure out what your average price point was, and you can get to these numbers, get a more realistic number.
So if you know what your average sales price is, I can help you figure out exactly what the split is based upon a $300 commission, or $300 transaction fee rather. But otherwise, I would just, it's 0.03 to 0.04. It's very close. Really close. 3%, 4%. It's going to be close. So here, what you do, it's the same thing. So you're going to do 1 minus either 0.97 or 0.9. Oh wait, here, hold on. Let me look at this.
Are you on page 6?
Yep, I'm on page 6. So it's the same kind of thing where you do the divided by. So look at page 5 for an example. So in box A, you're going to put 3 or 4 or 5%, not 0.03, the number 3, 4, or 5 in box A on page 6. Okay? So either put 3%, 4%, or 5%, depending on where you are, in your commission split percentage. Divided by 100 will be 0.03 or 0.04 or 0.05. And then 1 minus that. And then you take your target taxable income, that number we just figured out, and divide by either 0.97, 0.96, or 0.95 to get a bigger number, but not much bigger.
Michael, I need to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so raise your hand if you need me. Yes.
So I thought it was a flat fee,
It is.
so it's like $300.
Correct.
So here's my point.
Take 15
But we don't have to figure that out here that we figure that out
Three
based on average sales price.
Oh, so I've already done all that.
Oh, okay,
I was going,
then
okay,
you
I'm
get
like,
100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you know that, because what we do here, you'll see, so we figure out that based on this number, then we know how many transactions that is. That's like really good. We're doing it, yeah.
Okay, that's
So yeah, so if you know that, that's fine. But otherwise, this way it's just.
I thought it was a flat fee.
It is. Yeah. No. Sorry. I was just for this exercise we had to break it down into a percent basically. Okay. So does anybody else questions? Raise hand if you need it. Okay.
Of course, I'm right.
So this is 5. So this is the number 5.
So whatever I'm paying.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Okay, she said to put,
She did 4, so that's 0.04. Now you're going to take 1 minus 0.04. So put 0.04 there. And then do 1 minus 0.04.
Yes.
1
Yes.
minus 0.04.
So how does that
One
figure in?
Okay. So you put 50 here.
is point,
So 50, and then this is 0.5. Okay, and then this is 1 minus 0.5.
Yep, that goes right there.
5.
Then you can move that number down.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Now you're going to take this number.
the target is my take home.
This number.
Oh, okay.
And then you're going to put that number.
This number and divide by 0.5.
Divided by 0.96.
See, they had me take this, they had that
Number divided by 0.5. Thank you, Louise. Awesome. You're welcome. Thank you. Did you sign in so I can email you the thing?
Yes, it'll be here next week.
Yeah, up here.
Perfect. Yes. You're welcome. So does that make sense now?
And I don't even really understand where these are all coming from.
Yeah, 104,000.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So this should be a dollar figure. So it'd be like 104,000.
All right, you got it?
Okay, I got it wrong.
Perfect. Yeah, awesome. Okay. Everyone got it? Raise your hand if you need us. Okay, perfect. Got yours? Got yours? Everyone got it?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we're gonna move on. If everyone got it. So as we said, the numbers are gonna get bigger. So this number should be the biggest number yet, but it should enable you to pay your brokerage, pay your taxes, have that extra money that you wanted to live, and pay all of your bills. But now we need to add in business expenses. So these are your recurring expenses on an annual basis, not monthly. So this is where you'll look. Board dues, MLS dues, Supra, all that stuff you need to add in here. So does anyone know? It's different depending on the board, but I think
They do vary a little bit.
yeah, the board dues are about it's about $500.
Mine is
SAR.
several are 525.
Mine were
Yeah.
580.
580. Oh shit.
Oh, is that what it is
Okay.
now?
They went up a lot. They went up.
Oh, they
Yeah.
did. Okay. Well, they used to be 480 or something.
SAR just sent us, I don't remember what it was.
Okay, so let's do 580 then for board dues,
Well,
and then MLS fees for the year. What is that?
Mine was 324, but did
Yeah.
that go up again?
I haven't five.
I haven't, I think I figured it
505.
out.
505.
505.
Wow.
Well, that's if you buy the
If you buy
that's if you get the bells and whistles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then, I
Scottsdale
thought it was
sent-
580.
SAR just sent out a document for everyone, and it shows the total here at 520.
520.
Yep.
Okay,
SAR
and then
dues
what-
175, AAR dues 190, NAR dues 120, NAR public awareness totals 520.
Mine was 550 and I was SAR.
Oh, that's because you didn't take the repack off.
I did, it was actually higher and I took a $35 fee.
Well, if you add the $30 RPAC fee, then
If I add that, it was like 580, because that's what it came in at, and I took that off.
Okay,
and
so
my total was
550?
550.
Okay, so then what about you said MLS was 5 what? I'm sorry.
505.
No, that's the most
What?
expensive.
Yeah,
SAR?
if you get the
Oh
extra
my
MLS,
God, no.
otherwise it's $140.
Okay, so 550 minus 140 is 410.
Right.
Okay, Supra. How much is Supra?
My NAR dues were 150.
That's like a monthly,
Mine's
I think I'm doing like
Yeah.
$16 a month. So 50. What's 16 times 12? Oh, okay, so $15 a month.
Yeah, mine is 18.
216 a year. So we'll put that. And then also here, this is where you also have to put your brokerage costs of $25 a month.
So my.
So that's 300.
And then actually.
If you rent an office, you need to put that in here. If you have a website that's $100 a month, that is $1,200 a year.
don't forget your license renewal, even though you do every 24
Oh
months.
yeah,
Oh,
so that's
so
that's
$75.
That's like $100, so that's like
It's 150,
Oh.
so it's 75.
Okay.
So
Would that be
75 a year?
included in this too, my renewal?
yeah.
Maybe
So that's
it. I don't know.
so yeah, it's 150 I think every 2 years. So website you need to add in, CRM if you have one, any other recurring expenses that you pay monthly for your business. Obviously multiply them by 12.
Yeah, Zillow, if you pick the lead, it's
Yeah.
like that.
So the E&O is included in the transaction,
Yes,
that's
these are $25 a month.
Yeah, Eno goes here.
Well.
Your Eno figure would go here.
Okay.
if you have jet set.
Well, if we
Or
don't.
it's not covered by the 300 transaction.
I don't know the answer to that.
That's usually per
The MLS fees are the same as like the right?
So how do we do things that are dependent on volume, like photos and, you know, mailing?
And there's seller costs.
Yeah.
And there's
So
seller costs, so if you're gonna do 15 transactions, it's just $500 a transaction, multiply that times 15.
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Where does that go?
So
Under seller's costs.
and then also here another thing is marketing. So if you spend, let's say like you know you sell a house and you send out postcards for $200 every time, that needs to go in here too. So if you do open house helpers, closing gifts, yeah. So you kind of need to. My thing for this is overestimate. Put in extra expenses for yourself. You'd rather have more money at the end of the year than you expected than less, right? So add in all the stuff that you can. But what it looks like, minimum for anyone should be $1,500. I think realistically, I think realistically like $300 a month, $3,600 a year.
I'm at 4605 easy without postage.
Wow. Well, you guys do a lot of marketing though. So, but this is where you have to figure out, all that stuff has to go in there. So I would put, if you want to put, I would put somewhere between $300 and $600 a month, depending on how much you market and how many deals you do, probably.
Put your business in a new light.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But now it'll keep you more aware of all this stuff. And then in your P&L, you can have all this already accounted for, so that you're anticipating it. Okay, so does everyone have an annual total, or sort of, that they rounded up at the bottom?
Yeah, everybody got it?
Yes.
Speaking of websites, does everyone know that Playster offers one for free for agents?
No, I pay $180 for mine.
Playster is free. It does if you have to add on if you want IDX and their CRM, but NAR Playster through NAR offers all agents a free nice website.
How do you do that? How do you switch yours out from paying for it to that one?
Are you already using Playster?
Yes.
Well, then do you have the CRM or the IDX?
Nope.
You don't have either?
Nope.
Oh my gosh!
I've been paying $190 for 2 years.
Wow.
You have to do it through NAR.
Yeah. So if you Google Playster NAR, I'll tell you what the website is right now. Free websites for realtors. Yeah. So the website address is, I can't see the whole thing. Free websites for NAR members. So the website's playster.com/websites-for-realtors-.
You want to say that again?
Yes, so playster.com/websites-for-realtors-.
The number 4, you said 4
Spelled out 4, yeah, sorry. And I'll include this when I send you guys this info too. But it's a beautiful website. And then CRMs, does everyone have a CRM?
Yes.
How much are you paying for your CRM?
$20 a month.
Okay, awesome. You can get a good one for $20. Okay, we're gonna keep moving on. So everyone has an annual total of business expenses that they're comfortable with, or that you're spending already at the bottom. Okay, so on the next page, we add that to your last big number. So whatever your number was before, you add that onto it, and this is the most ugly number it's going to get, I promise.
Yeah, that number.
So take your number from page 6, when we figured out after we added the commission split to the brokerage. You're going to add.
You're going to add this number to that number.
And then, so then that will be your targeted GCI, or gross commission income, and you're going to put that here, right here, on your pyramid, the red left box. So that's your big, ugly money number. Targeted GCI. But now I promise the numbers are going to get easier. Promise. Okay? Alright, so now that we have that big ugly number, now we need to figure out how many deals is that, right? So this will make it more manageable as we go through. So we need to figure out your sales volume annually, and then we'll figure out how many transactions that is. So if you always take 3% commission, you're going to take your targeted GCI, that big ugly number, divided by 0.03. If you sometimes discount your commission to 2 or 2.5%, you should use 2.5% or 2% to be a little conservative, and then you're going to divide your big ugly number by 0.025 or 0.02. So we're on page 8 on the top. Does everyone see?
0.03 if it's 3.
0.03 if it's always 3% commission.
That's if you're getting 3% on every deal. So that's why she was saying you could use 2% or 2.5%.
If you discount. Do you ever discount?
Rarely.
Good. Don't.
And
Hooray.
my last deal I got 3.5.
Don't discount. Don't do it.
I'm gonna stop discounting.
Do not discount. As soon as you're a discount realtor, then you're always a discount realtor. Don't be a discount realtor. You're worth it. So don't discount. Unless, I mean, your mom maybe, but.
However, sometimes if you're on the buy side of it,
Yeah.
and they're only offering a 2.5%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about that.
Okay. So now we should have your GCI. So for this example, if they had a targeted GCI of $166,000, their sales volume was 5.5 million. So your number should be from like 5 to 20 million, depending on what your goal was financially. So does everyone have a big ugly number?
Like
5
a
to
6
20?
million?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where?
I'm
Okay, so I have to add that 8 to the, okay.
So raise your hand if you need help.
Yeah. We need,
Who needs help?
If our targeted GCI would grow commission income.
Yep, exactly. So that's your big number divided by 0.03 should be like 5 to 20 million, depending on your financial goal. So what'd you get? 16.
yeah, that's your volume. And that's what you want.
And that's going to go on this page, guys. The pyramid, the right red box. That's your GCI.
Right here?
So, yep.
Don't know yet. We'll see.
And so this, so the reason why we do this is because it's just as important to track your sales volume as it is your income, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because most people only track their income, right? Or they only have an income goal, but your GCI goal yields your income if it's done correctly with, you know, that's why we're figuring all this out. So your GCI goal is just as important, or I'm sorry, your sales volume goal is just as important, I think.
Yep. By that, and you're going to get your volume number.
Okay. Anyone else need help, or everyone got that? Okay, so this is the part where it's going to get fun. All right. Yeah. So
This
that's,
number
goes to.
5.3 million? No, it's not.
So yeah, figure that out, and I'll work through it on here. Okay. So then divided by 0.03. Yeah. So it should be 9 million. Yeah, that's right. 9,489,000. So you should leave the decimal off. Yeah, exactly right. So 9.5 million basically is your sales volume. Okay, so now everyone with me? You with me? I promise it's going to get better from here on out. These are the numbers that are going to get better and more manageable. Okay, so now that we figured out your target sales volume, we have to figure out how many houses that is. And this is where you have to use your average sales price. If you do not know your average sales price, you need to track it going forward. That's why we have all of our closings, everything for the year on that we're going to track from now on. But if you don't know, I would use right now the Maricopa County average. I think is 282,000.
You can, and those of you that have been in business more than a year, you can go back to your past 12 months and figure that out.
Yeah. So, I mean, don't put an average sales volume of 500,000 if you don't sell $500,000 homes. So, keep in mind, you know, what your lead sources are, who you market to, and all that. You know, using Maricopa County average is probably pretty safe, I'd say, if you don't know. And that'd be 282. So, that would be a good one. So, you're going to divide that big, ugly GCI divided by the average sales price that you have, and that will give you a number of transactions. And there's going to be a decimal, and I want you to round up.
Anybody need help with that?
And you wanna round up?
Round up. So if it like this is 27.75, round it to 28 because we don't sell
Okay.
3/4 of a house. So just yeah. So just round up to the next nearest number.
What page are you on?
Page 8.
Page 8 at the bottom.
That's gonna make.
Page 8 at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, I think I did do that. Okay.
All right. Got it? We all got it?
Everybody got the
We
number?
good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that's more manageable, right? That's a lot more manageable number than all the hundreds of thousands before. This number I like, and they're going to get easier from here on out. So that is your target number of transactions you need to close to do all the things you need to do financially. So that's going to go in the purple box in the middle, right here. Purple box in the middle, target transactions. And now we're going to figure out how many buy sides and how many sell sides that is. Depending on what percentage you are, buyer versus seller. And there's some people that do a lot more of one or the other. There's some that do kind of equal. So if you have been in business, think about your last year, what you did. If you are a brand new agent, we can give you some first year averages to use that we had it before. So let us know. But basically, it's just following the example here. If you're 60% sellers, you're going to multiply your target number of transactions by 0.6 to figure out your target number of seller side deals, and the same thing for buyers. Any questions there?
Yeah, what is it for the first time?
It's 60% buyers, 40% sellers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm pretty much at 50/50.
Do I need
Yeah.
help with that?
So if you're 50, your number's easy. Obviously, just divide it by 2 then. And then same thing with this. If you get a decimal, make it so that the numbers, if you add them up, if you add up the numbers, they should equal the total, right? So if you have 12 and 10, that should be 22. You know, make it so it equals your total number of transactions. All right, and then those are going to go on the pyramid here on either side of the purple, buyers and sellers, closed buyers, closed sellers, depending on what you figured out. So these are a lot more manageable numbers. Good, awesome. Okay. Everyone think they can swallow those numbers a little better? No?
0.6 times your total number of units, 20.6 times 20.
All right.
Will give you
So this is where now we figure out that's how many buyers and sellers you need to close, but we need to figure out then how many buyers and buying listing appointments and buyers appointments you need to go on to close that amount of buyers and sellers. Does that make sense? Okay, so
yeah, then it's nice.
on the example here, this guy needs 17 seller side transactions and he has an average success rate of 50%.
Just do one more of something.
So he needs 34 listings, which to me this is crazy high. Because in our market, like I said, if you get a listing and it's priced appropriately, it's going to sell about 90% of the time right now, or 95. So this is where I think our numbers are going to be a little different, and I can help you guys. But so do the first example here. So however many seller side transactions you require, divide that by your success rate. That doesn't mean getting the listing. That means once you have the listing, what's the percentage likelihood that you're going to sell it? And I think for most everyone in here, it should be about 90%, right? Okay. So do your seller side transactions required divided by 0.9 equals how many listings required. It may be the same or it may add 1 or whatever. And then here, this is your success rate with listing appointments at the bottom of that page. So if then you take your listings required, and this is where if you go on 10 listing appointments, how many listings do you get? So this depends on where your business comes from. If they're cold, it's going to be about 50% success rate. If they're repeat referral database business, it could be 80 or 90% success rate with listing appointments. So this is where we just have to figure that out.
Where's that?
But that will give you your target number of listing appointments that you need for the year.
This is a listing.
Okay, and we're going to put that on the pyramid too.
Sold.
So that's going to go under listing appointments, but hold on, before you write, do this. Do in the big box,
Appointments, now you're in appointments, right?
do if it's, 12 a year and then 1 a month. So break it down for yourself so that you have it annually and monthly. Whatever your numbers will equate to.
So do we round up on the month as well?
I mean, you could, or you could do then like 3 every 2 months or whatever,
Yeah.
Just give yourself a way to track it in a smaller amounts of time. All right.
Yeah, take that divided by that, which will be the amount. There we go. And then we do the same thing with the other side. So, like there's an example, so this is required. The rest of it is calculated by this.
0.4 and 0.6.
So that should be net,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's not right.
but this is 34.
Those numbers will be.
This is buyer side, right? No,
Those
seller.
are sellers.
Yeah, right.
This should be my total. Because I already did the estimated success rate.
That's right. Why am I confused on this one?
It's almost like the same thing twice.
No, so the seller one's a little confusing. Seller one
you
means,
don't win them all, so
Yeah.
estimate your success rate.
so the
50% success. I
Well,
already put
so
that
the
in.
first one means what percentage of your listings sell. That's the first calculation. And the second one is what percentage of listing appointments do you get. So that they're actually 2 different ones. But if you sell 100% of your listings, then it'll be 100. But I'd say 90 is probably
Same
pretty good.
thing to me.
I'm at 90.
Yeah. Okay,
This is
that
looking
makes
better.
sense. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say that should
Woo,
be better
that
now.
got scary.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, no.
Yeah, now we figure out your 0.9 success rate. Perfect. So that should be.
No, we're saying even though you estimate this,
Oh, is
Close that.
they're saying down here that you're gonna get 80% of your estimated rate. This is what you're estimating.
Right.
But this is saying that
Okay.
you're not gonna get everyone.
All right. Raise your hand if you need help.
So if you figure you get
Everyone good? Woohoo! Okay, we're gonna keep moving. Okay, so everyone has you should have on your pyramid your listing appointment box filled out with 2 numbers, 1 annual, 1 monthly. Does everyone have that? Yeah? Awesome. Okay. Now we're gonna do the same thing with buyers. The buyer calculation is easier because there's only 1. The buyer calculation means of all the buyers that you meet with, what percentage of them do you get in a house? So this said 90%. I feel like that is very high, personally. What? I like it too. I'm on the lending side. I would love it if 90% of our buyers converted. That'd be great. But yeah, so basically, what percentage of buyers that you ever work with are able to get financed, get under contract, get through inspection, close on a house?
Half.
Half. That's I was going to say half.
Then put half.
Then put
0.5.
50%.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And this 90% thing is crazy to me.
Right, I don't understand that.
Well, no, like of buyer leads. Meaning of all the buyers that you work with, some decide not to buy right now, right? Some need credit repair, some need.
I do too.
It depends. Well, if you're doing online leads, that's a lot different. Online leads is a whole different game. So she cold calls and does online leads. So it depends on.
Your referrals and marketing, I closed 90% of mine.
Okay, awesome.
Wow.
Well, then you're working with like well-qualified demographic too. So it depends on
It's only how they
price
only reason
point.
to get in my car.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then you'll
Yeah, well then,
also
that's good.
I mean,
So,
90%.
yeah, so it depends on, I'd say, with your success rate with buyers is going to depend on your demographic. If you're working with a lower price point of buyers, there's going to generally be financing or credit issues, depending on what area you work and all that. So I would put between 50 and 90%, depending on what type of lead sources you get. If you do a lot of online leads, cold calls, open house leads, they're not going to convert at a higher rate as like referral business, like she said, past clients, those will convert at a higher rate. And if you work in, if most of your sphere is move-up buyers, meaning they're already in a house, they're already established, and they're moving up, those people are going to get into houses a lot easier. So it depends on what demographic you work with. So somewhere between 50 and 90 would be my guess. Okay, but same thing. For that, come up with in your buyer box, put your annual goal and your monthly goal. Does everyone see? I'm sorry, the blue box, buyers engaged. So that means, for an example, that would mean you would have, let's do a bigger number for this as well. But let's do, for this example, you have to do 24 buyers a year, or 2 buyers a month you have to be actively working with to close your goal of closed buyers a year. Does that make sense? Everyone following? Okay.
So take that number at the blue and divide it by 12.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So we should have our pyramid filled out except for the bottom 2 boxes. Everyone got there?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
She's still on the list.
So we gotta get going. We have 10 more minutes. So let's see.
Buyers would use
Yeah, that works. Perfect.
So that goes here?
Mm-hmm.
Here or here?
Goes
here.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, that's your year.
Okay. Alright.
Wait, this actually isn't right. Because it should be bigger than this number. So, here's your.
Oh.
Yeah, this calculation's wrong. So do this calculation.
Yeah, I'll have the list that she has in her computers. We'll have her,
Per year,
Okay.
yeah, and then
And on this?
the buyer one, you do whatever percentage closing ratio with buyers, so that you think
Where does the resin come from?
that's this 14.
Michael,
Yeah.
what is
You're
the
welcome. Yeah. Okay.
number again, like if people come in open houses and you get their names, like how many of those actually convert? I know you have like a really good.
1 in 33.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, one.
So yeah, now we're gonna talk about some of this fun stuff. We only have 9 minutes, and we're gonna get you out of here on time because we have another great class after this. But now you have your success plan here, but that still doesn't break it down to the activities required to hit those goals. You know how many per month you need to be working with, but we haven't yet talked about the activities you need to do to work with that many, right? So now this is where you're going to put your buyer and seller activities that you're going to do to attract buyers and sellers there. So in your packet, you'll see there's some examples of ideas on sell side and buy side of things you can do for lead generation. But this is where you need to figure out, like for buyers, if you need to engage 24 buyers or whatever it is here, you need to figure out how many open houses that is per month that you're going to do to attract that many new buyers, if that's going to be your primary lead generation source for buyers. So we have some metrics we can help you with to figure out, but the basic one is 1 in 33 registrations at an open house equals a closed buyer.
Well, your number, you're going to track your
Yeah.
numbers so you know what they are.
Yeah.
But for now, what does that mean? That means if you get on average 8 visitors per open house, that means it's going to take you 4 open houses, 8 times 4 is 32, to get to 1 closed person. So if you need that, does that make sense? So that means
Yeah,
you need to do 4 open houses a month to close 1 buyer lead a month, on average. If you have 8 people in. If you have 20 people in, that's a totally different metric, but we can help you figure out those numbers if you kind of have an idea. But basically the goal is then to break it down so you have monthly activities for yourself for on the buy side and on the sell side. So whether it's, 4 open houses a month, 6, 8, 2, whatever your number is, and then also a number of like database calls a month that you need to make as well. So, or, other buy side things could be, there's lots of other ways. So whatever ways you're going to commit to, you need to write down which activities you're going to commit to doing for lead generation, and then you're going to break it down to frequency so that it's trackable, right? Because the goal is we want to have a trackable, sustainable business so that we know if we do 8 open houses this month, we should close 2 deals in 60 days or whatever it is because of our metrics. We've tracked them, we've figured them out. So that's the whole goal. And then from then it's just math. It's just plug and play. You need to do X amount of more calls or X amount of more open houses to increase by what you want to increase. So everyone, who's going to commit to doing open houses as part of their lead gen? Okay.
Most everybody.
So put those down for buyer activities. And then we need to figure out how many per month you're going to commit to doing. And make it realistic. And you can always adjust this as you go too, right?
Absolutely.
So if you have an open house that you get 20 people through, you're not going to have to do as many if you're only planning on getting 8 people through. So that's where these numbers can vary every month, but you need to keep track of it as you go. Does that make sense? Okay, and same thing with, I think for both buyers and sellers, database calls should be on there. That should be, in my opinion, a non-negotiable part of every agent's business should be database calls. So I would put that on both sides. And then whatever everyone's going to have different ways they want to generate business. So whatever your ways are, put them down there, but just make sure you're giving yourself a number or a way to track it for yourself.
Yeah. And once you have this down, you can start building out your week. What does your week look like with these activities in them?
Are there any other
stressful
metrics?
but useful class.
I'm sorry.
No, it is
It's
very
very
stressful.
stressful.
Perspective. For a minute there, it was like, let it go.
I know. Well, that's the goal. That's exactly the goal. So we're glad that you said that. The goal of this is basically to break it down for you and not just throw a dart at an income number that you want, but to understand why you need that income, right? You need that income to pay your bills, to pay your taxes, to pay your business expenses. And if you're not making that, you're not paying something, right? So that's the reason why we have you build it up so that you see it. And that way you're bought into it more because you understand that you need it. And then from there, like you said, we can break it down to deals and activities. A lot of business plans do it the other way, and we really feel that this is the way to help you get bought in and stay committed to it because you understand it. It's not just a number.
It's going to change and update, so 3 months from now,
Good.
when you see what your business is doing, you're going to be able to zero in even more on this.
Cool.
So the whole idea is to zero it in. Once you've been doing this 1, 2, 3 years, it really will be in your mind. You'll know exactly what you need to do and how your business is running. And you should do this every single year and watch it throughout the year so you know where to tweak your business, what to add, what not to add.
And also, like you'll know too, if your average price point changes, you'll need less transactions. If you're, everything will kind of fluctuate, but the numbers will all kind of, the math will stay the same. You'll just plug in new numbers to get a new calculation, if that makes sense. Yes.
Two other metrics I'm hopeful you might have. Number of buyers per listing. Is that one that you have?
Meaning what? What
Like
are you
if
asking?
you have a listing, how many buyers can you expect to have when you're marketing that listing?
Depends on how well you market it.
Right.
So, and it depends on a lot. So
Right.
no, I don't at all have an average
And
metric
then what
for
about
that.
number of database phone calls to a piece of business?
So that one we do have. So he asked how many if you have a listing, how many buyer leads can you expect to get? I don't think there's any way to know that. It depends a lot on how many open houses you do,
Right.
Where the house is, what it's
Yeah,
priced at,
there's
traffic.
a lot of factors.
But as far as database calls, we've heard up to we've heard up to an 8% conversion with database.
Okay.
So if you make 100 calls, you could potentially expect 8 good conversations about real estate. So
That's getting
yeah.
them into your database.
Yeah.
Not 8
So-
transactions, but
So that may not be they're going to be a deal right now, but at least good conversation about real estate in the next 3 to 6 months. They want to do something, right?
But I think what you're
So-
getting at is on the listing side with tracking how many buyers come from a listing. That's
Right.
something you can track.
Right.
So as each listing that you get, you can try to see how many sign calls you get that are actually a buyer call that you convert to lead. That's something you
Yeah.
can track if you want. There's so many other factors to that because you could do 6 open houses on that and have a lot of buyer leads from there.
Right.
And then convert a certain amount of them to buyers.
So 100
close
phone calls, 8 people that are interested
8
in doing
good
something in the
conversations.
next 6 months.
Yeah,
And they never
that's if you're managing your database well. So
Yeah.
if when you're calling people regularly, you can
Yeah.
expect about it. Yeah, that's a good return on a well-managed database. Okay, guys. Well, we want to say thank you. We know it wasn't fun to do all that math, but we hope that it was helpful. The goal is to have this, right? So look at this, keep it top of mind, stay motivated to it. We hope that by breaking it down monthly, it will not be as daunting to get there, right? Because the numbers should be a lot more manageable on a monthly basis. And then if you have a month where you do great, you can adjust. If you have a month that you don't do as great, you need to do more activities the following month. So, but the goal is really keep this forefront, keep tracking your numbers as you go, and ask for help. We're here all the time, so ask us for help if you need us. But we want to help you guys any way that we can. We want to see all of you hit your goals. We know that you can do it. This business gives you unlimited opportunities. So keep working, keep focused, do every day your prospecting activities to get you to that number, and you're going to get there. Okay? Yes, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it.
Great class.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it.
We did an email with this stuff.
Yep.
Now with these, they're
Did
templates.
you sign in?
No.
Oh,
I'm
sign
not.
in. Yeah. Oh, my team pass that around. Make sure everyone's signed in, and then
I
we'll.
just came in late. It was
Yeah, no
my
worries.
Based on these what John is
Yes.
wanting.
Right here.
So you use QuickBooks.
No, I heard that. You don't need QuickBooks for the day, like 5 days payroll. I am setting that up this year. It's gonna pay me, but I'm gonna give myself a salary.
Is that
It's
right?
going well.
Is this the
Yeah.
front?
No.
Well, because he's gonna
You
sign
don't
with
have
Joe,
to have
so
it
he asked
down
for
to
that.
Friday.
So he did not have to take the day off.
Expensive.
Who I don't know.